Good morning. This is Teacher Terry once again, bringing you another update on online industry. As some of you know or may not know, I do work online. I've been working for several companies doing lots of research and keeping lots of notes and things like that. A little bit of the law, things of that nature. And yesterday I had a discussion with one of the senior administrators over my group in China. Now, I want to explain to you a Chinese, some companies have this mentality, and I just want to explain the system to you. They will go in, you will hire into these companies, which are very competitive, and they sell students, let's say an example, 60 lessons for a reasonable price. Now, as a new teacher, you come in, they're paying the referral people a commission to get you in there. Word of mouth is the best advertising. So they beef it up and make it real happy for you, because when you first get in there, they're feeding you lots of classes. And I was doing $2,000 to $3,000 or $4,000 a month because I opened up all my slots and I have nothing better to do than sit here and work online. After a while, I noticed, especially after the Chinese New Year was about my third month, then I kind of noticed it does this, goes up. Instead of getting a normal 9 or 10 hours, I would get 6. Next day, maybe I'd get 8. The next day, maybe I'd get 4. It started taking that bouncy ball thing. Then recently, I figured out I know these particular slots that do open. They are going to get students. Well, suddenly, my slots aren't hitting in there anymore. Take your first 2 in the morning, my first 2. I would always pick them up. Now, I used to start 2 hours later, but I figured out if I went 2 hours earlier, I was guaranteed to hit those 2 slots. Now, what's happening is I'm not hitting the first 2 slots, I'm hitting the second slot. Instead of getting my third slot, I'm not getting that one at all. And then, as an example, in this last week, where I would get, already have 4 classes in the morning, my 4th slot, this whole week I've had 2. And I'm starting to wonder. Now, today on my next slot, this week, I've got 3, 2. So let's just to look at the picture that I'm talking about. I went from having anywhere from 9 to 12 classes a day, which is way too many. I cut them down where I could manage them, and I was getting 8 to 9. And then I adjusted it to 7 to 9 to give myself, 7's my minimum. However, and I'm looking at it, last week is where I really started to see the drop. So last week, I didn't get any on my Monday morning that I just play with. That's my experimental. The next day, I got a Tuesday 9, then 9, then 9, 9. But in some of these key spots, they're disappearing and they're popping up in a different one. Now, on the 5th day, I got 5. On the next day, I got 7. Now, I didn't really take much notice of that because coming right out of the new year, I was hitting a consistent the money 4, 8, 8, 6, 3, 6, 7. So last week, I just told you what that was. 0, 9, 9, 9, 9. I hit 9 right in a row. and then I hit 5, then I hit 7. Now, normally you're saying, well, you're still doing pretty good, but I'm watching this pattern emerge that, remember, I'm coming off of a certain length of time. A lot of these students have already had 60 lessons, what I found out. So this week, my schedule was 2, 2. I hit a 9. I hit an 8. Yesterday, only 3. Today, I have 5. Now, I'm seeing this drop because when I'm only getting 2 classes, they penalize you very hard. Once you're in your day, you get what they call a committed schedule. And in that committed schedule, if you cancel any time during that day, 24 hours after you've selected that slot, you're going to pay a fine. Whether or not you have a class, whether or not it's scheduled, you cannot change it. So you're locked in. So all day I would sit here and wait on something that's not going to happen. So I started asking questions. And then I realized, a friend of mine had told me this a long time ago, and I'd kind of forgotten about it. Once they keep feeding you and you're making a lot of money, you naturally start referring your friends. Now, this is what happens with referral monkeys. Now, I did refer 4, but they're very close friends. I know them. And if you've looked at some of my websites, I do put it up there, in a YouTube channel. This is a good one. Do it if you want. I don't get out there with websites and all these great things, and put up all these huge, wonderful videos. I'm just telling you it's okay in the beginning. When I started asking a few things, this is what I was told. After you've been fed and happier than a pig in the mud, you've referred your friends, and now you got your little bonus, your salary's real high, and you're thinking, hey, this is wonderful. I'm really rocking with this company. You start to see this wobble. Now, my questions are going to other teachers with this company, and they said, when you start seeing that wobble, get ready, you're fixing to get hit. And in some of the comments on the company forum, each particular recruiter that you go to have their own group. And so I'm seeing in my group, how come I'm not getting classes? How come? And I'm starting to see these odd recommendations. Well, what am I told? You need to start converting your students and telling them you'll do tutorials one-on-one. And so I would get a few tutorials now and then, or group class or something where there's only one, or a lecture class, whatever. Anyway, one student would show up. And I asked them about that tutorial, and they said, oh, but if I do that, I have to pay a lot more money for those. Okay, but now I'm not making any more money for that class. That means the company's making more money. Their whole premise now that I'm seeing is it's designed, you're not going to survive if you're expecting to continue doing those group classes that they're just feeding you. Because what you're supposed to do is establish a great rapport, or sometime under their performance restrictions that don't allow you to maybe use your own original style that would attract these one-on-ones. But their whole idea is take those 4, try to get all 4 to go one-on-one. Let's say that's 400% profit. 100% off each one. So let's say, they make 100%, 200%. You're not making any more, but you're getting your classes. And this is exactly what I was told. You need to start getting more tutorials. And I said, how can you do that? Show me. She actually did. She sent me some pictures of some of these teachers that have 40, 50, 60 classes a week, and they're all tutorials. And these are the ones that are getting these extra bonuses. It's designed that if you cannot convert these students over to one-on-one, your rankings start falling. And they have it built in where you get what they call a bonus from a student. And those bonuses bump you up in the ratings, and they add that into the performance criteria. So the number of classes you teach, you get certain bonus points for those. For every student that rates you, certain ratings from 1 to 5. If you get a 1 or a 2, that's not good. It's a minus a 1 or minus 2. And if you get 2 of those in the same class, he terminates you. If you can get a 3, a 4, or a 5, that adds in more points, depending on which one it is. No rating is okay. You get a 1 for that. So it's built in that all of these extra bonuses the students give you add in. The amount of classes that you get add in. And how many students actually rate you according to add in. Now, what is that doing? That is a formula for failure. In many cases, your students don't want to leave a remark or evaluation on you. You only get 1 point. But this tutorial, this tutor over here, they just got a 5. Most of the ones in your group classes, they don't necessarily use those bonus points to give you extra money. Most of them don't understand it, and a lot of them, you know, they're new to the company. The people over here that's already got those one-on-ones, those students are feeding them because they're their only teacher that they're selecting, and they're getting all of those extra bonus points. Plus, they're getting these extra classes now. So when it's done, it's rewarding those high performers that are out there making that company. But they're losing the whole picture that if you're living and you're doing all of these group classes, which a lot of us are very comfortable in, hey, you're making the company money. You've got 1 to 4 students in there. You're consistent. If they want to go into a tutorial, that's perfectly fine. Keep your teachers you have in their comfort zones. And this is what you're going to find in many of these companies that do one-on-one tutorials and groups. If you're teaching groups and you start finding those classes doing this up and down and you start getting questions, but you're seeing all these people over here with all these big bonuses and all of these ratings real high, real fast, in 2 weeks, I saw one teacher go to over 1,000 bonus points when I hadn't yet got a 1. And I start wondering, how is this happening? I start asking questions. This is what I'm finding out. It's exactly what they're doing. The system is designed, you will fail if you stay in group. You will be successful if you convert them over to tutorials. This is Teacher Terry saying, look for that hidden pattern. Look for that hidden agenda. In this company, if your ratings keep falling and falling until you hit the low 2% of the ratings, you're terminated, replaced. I started out in the top 10%. I've been consistently in the upper 50%, or the next 50%, up pretty high in there. I'm waiting to see this month just how far that one goes. And I started doing research. What was the name of this company before this name? And I'm seeing a lot of negative comments because I didn't know the company that it was before. And I'm starting to compare similarities. Is it really the same sheep or the same wolf with a new sheep's clothing? Or is it a new sheep that's actually trying to be a sheep and change its behavior? This is Teacher Terry saying, see you in the classroom. I hope that you enjoy it.